Welcome back, boils and ghouls, to another exciting episode of The Mailbag, the part of the channel where you, the viewers, get to show off what you guys are capable of. We've got an amazing amount and some super quality stuff to go through. So without further ado, I want to get to that. But before we do, remember, if you would like these videos, hit that like button. Think about getting in the comments section below and letting me know. If you feel like you're in a position to help the channel grow, think about using the links in the description below to sign up for my Patreon page, sign up for membership right here on YouTube, or maybe even just hit the channel on Ko-Fi. That stuff really does make these videos possible. I'd like to thank every single one of you who sent in stuff. It means the world to me. If you are interested in getting your piece featured on an episode of The Mailbag, just use my About section, look up my email, drop me an email, hit me up through Instagram, Facebook, whatever. We'll hook up. We will get your books featured. I can guarantee that anything sent to me that is safe to show, I will put on the channel. No favorites. Everybody does know that my favorite books do end up getting indie spotlight episodes, and I'm working on moving to live YouTube interviews. So we're going to be expanding that section of the channel. So if you're interested in getting your stuff featured, please just get a hold of me and we'll make sure that happens. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we have got two massive piles of stuff to get through, but I did want to start off. I wanted to let everybody know that the newest episode, or the newest issue of Outstanding Achievement Presents, is out. If you're not familiar with Outstanding Achievement, I did an episode of the Indie Spotlight and an interview about the first issue, and James, the guy who did it, James Windsor Smith, was kind enough to have me come, and I actually wrote an article in the back here, which is absolutely microscopic. If you pick this up and you need a PDF version to read, please let me know. I will get it to you. Yes, it is teeny tiny, but apparently Dave Sims said that it was the best ever Jack Kirby article that he had ever read. And if that doesn't tell you anything, it's about Jack Kirby and the Christmas spirit of giving. Very cool book. This book is full color as opposed to the first one. I'm not a Christmas guy, but I'm going to tell you, this was a blast to work on. Dracula shows up and it's a Christmas tale. I don't want to give too much away. Also, there is a pinup by Richard Friend. I mean, just look at this stuff. He almost never works in like full color. I love this piece. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. Me and James are good friends. We're going to be working together again in the future, without doubt. There will be an indie spotlight that is coming up just about this second issue. If you're interested in getting a hold of a copy, just get a hold of James, or I do have some limited copies. Happy to sign that stuff up, or whatever you might want from your Uncle Jerk, if your little heart so desires. Let's see. We'll save those. Okay, Thready. So, I got a package from the creator of Thready, Brandon Hayes. Thready, I guess, is supposed to be like dealing with mental health issues. Thready is really strange. I've not yet put my finger on exactly what's going on in this book. I think that Thready represents Brandon in a lot of ways, but I'm not entirely sure how biographical or autobiographical this book is. Some of the discussions brought up in here are like really, really kind of heady suicide, yeah, I mean, a lot of mental health stuff. That's one of the points of making this book. And he's like, deals with bipolar depression, I believe. I'm looking forward to talking to Brandon about this series. Thready was an interesting read. I enjoy a lot of, sorry, there's some of this I can't really show that much on YouTube. He sent along, like, I think everything that's out, which is 2 issues, and then this mini comic. And each one of them follows a different mental kind of like in this, I think it's called Monday. Yeah, Monday. I thought so. He has, like, obviously has some sort of, like, bowel disorder. And for anybody who's dealt with anything like that, it's very embarrassing. Like, really, really embarrassing. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to talk about it. And a lot of people suffer through it. But he's got, like, dealing with not only that, but also the guy that he's with is, like, just kind of busting on him for wasting his life and, like, not doing anything productive. Like, we'll take a look at Thready. I need to analyze these books more. They were interesting and weird in a way that I had not expected. Chris Anderson. Chris makes comics. So, unfortunately, I guess I'm missing one. But I talked to him, and all it is unused designs for these 2 minis. So what we're going to do right now is there's a kind of a trend going on. Some people are really down with it. Some people, I think, are crapping all over it. I personally happen to really like guys with a personal, unique vision that come in and do their own, like, mini comics. I think this whole thing was kicked off by Daniel Warren Johnson. Daniel Warren Johnson's done a series of books that I would love to check out on the channel. Oh my God, I would. Old Man Skywalker, Martok, Green Leader, Pacific Rim, and We Love You, Daniel Liger, or We Love You, Liger. And no, it's Thank You, Liger. Sorry. If anybody has copies, or if you're going to upcoming conventions and you can get me copies that aren't at eBay prices, please let me know. I want to do an episode just on those books, because I think that they're kind of reverberating out. Okay, and there are things that are echoing through, and a lot of people are getting upset about bootleg books about licensed characters. Okay, this is an unlicensed book. Now, what's the difference to me between an unlicensed book and a bootleg book? A bootleg book is going to be Spider-Man saying fuck, shit, ass, maybe some tits, all black and white. The art's going to be banged out. It's always going to be mini-sized, never going to just be treated quite right. That's uninteresting to me. What is interesting to me is when somebody who has talent, drive, and the ability to make comics themselves has an interest in a franchise that they're not ever necessarily going to be invited to work on. So instead, they create these absolutely incredible mini comics. Now, I've got some of them, but I don't show a lot of them off. This, however, not Man, not Beast, but Moss is so cool. This is like how... This is what was going down in Eternia just prior to Skeletor assembling his army. And you can see the art is all black and white. If you've seen any of the Daniel Warren Johnson stuff, then you know this is very reminiscent of the Daniel Warren Johnson books, from the construction, the size, the cardstock, and the nice usage of gray tones throughout this. Absolutely gorgeous. Chris is an amazing artist. Now, a lot of guys who do these books are fairly limited art-wise. I'm not going to lie. That's one of the reasons that they'll never get a chance. And it's really great to see their unique vision. But what's really amazing is when you see a book that is created by a guy that has not the ability to write, not the ability to draw, not the ability to make comics, but all three combined, and an absolute love and adoration for the source material, which is where this is coming from. I want to show this off, but I don't want to talk too much about, like, the actual, like, oh, here's what's happening in the comic book and da 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 da. If you want these books, he does not sell them. Chris is a cool guy, not about infringing on copyrights, smart fellow. But if you sign up for his Patreon page, then I believe at a certain tier, you are granted access to published versions of these books at the end of the year, because he's not selling them to you. You're just getting them for supporting his art and that kind of stuff off of Patreon. Not Man, Not Beast, but Moss. This book was absolutely insane. Slightly longer, I believe, than some of the Daniel Warren Johnson stuff. And there's a second one in the series called Stench of the Sea. And this one was just as cool. It's a little bit more abridged. I don't know which one came first. I kind of get the feeling that Not Man, Not Beast, but Moss maybe came first. And then there's this. This is on a slicker cardstock paper. Not necessarily as much of a favor or a fan of that choice, but this book is really, really cool. Again, telling the backstory to the rogues gallery of characters that comprised Skeletor's army. And this book is just super, super fun. Again, like I said, don't want to go through too much about like, oh, hey, this is what every page is about and stuff. You can see Skeletor is assembling his army, though. And this one's also got the origin of Trapjaw in it. Super cool stuff. Now, he also sent along Spectral. And Spectral, this book is nuts. Spot coloring, like the black and white with spot coloring. I haven't seen that done in a book in a really long time. Especially not well. I'm going to say that. They really, really knew how to do that. The usage of gray tones, the red spotting, like reminds me a lot of like old risograph fanzine pieces that I would get. You guys know me. I don't really like going too much into like the he said, she said, elevator pitch story idea of what a book is about. I much prefer to open a book up, flip through it, and tell you whether I saw artistic merit in the works and what was interesting and what hit with me. This book, holy God, yeah, definitely a winner. Chris is a guy that I am very much looking forward to. I don't know if I'll do it on Spectral because I might wait for something newer, for him to drop something newer. But I will be having Chris on for a Indie Spotlight episode. I cannot wait to get into these mini books. I want to talk to him about the origins of the mini books, where they came from. This stuff right here is just, it's magnificent. It really, really is. Like some of the compositional stuff, you can tell he's really pushing himself. The usage, again, just these usages of the limited color palette, the way that they're introducing the red, the green, they have these really beautiful offset splash pages with color is a very intelligent choice. I believe that they're the covers. They might not be. This might have just been a standalone graphic. I'm not entirely sure. I would love to ask Chris about that. His faces are extremely expressive. I really like the semi-cartoonish nature of stuff. Like, I think a lot of times you can kind of see him cartooning, but he's also really just slamming details in some of this stuff. Some of the beautiful effects that he uses. Great example of a guy that I feel like probably puts stuff down on paper, then scans it in and messes with it digitally, which is how I think you should do digital work. Orange. I mean, look at this. The way that they make the small little tiny things pop, the very intelligent usage throughout, just spattered. It's not overpowering. It's not anything crazy, but it is always noticeable. It always builds into the story. I really like it. They almost always represent one of the cool things that I saw. Each of the different entities or creatures or whatever, the protagonists for these stories, seems to be represented by a different color. See, and now we get into as we leave that, we get into the purple. I thought that was a really cool, interesting choice. I don't know if I've seen that done in another book, actually, now that I am sitting here thinking about it, which is very interesting because I've seen a lot of stuff done in a lot of different books. But yeah, the introduction of like these single color palettes, and then we're going to move into, from the purple, move into a gorgeous blue. The blue is like the final, I believe it's the final color that we're kind of going to introduce in here. And you get 2 shades of blue in this one. Sometimes they play with shades, not too much. That's the only one I really know of. They do like the baby blue. Yeah, and then you get the menagerie of colors. I am interested to know where that was like where that comes from. If that was just kind of a stroke of genius that they had, or if that comes from somewhere. I'm very, very interested. So it's a horror tale, obviously. Wonderful bonus material in here. There's a great gallery. Whatever your little heart may desire, I would have loved to have seen this a little bit expanded. This is the spectral process, and this is like page of the script, layout, this kind of stuff. Would have loved to see that expanded, but to see that in this at all is really cool. Really, really cool. Major kudos to Chris. I can't thank him enough for sending those in. Chris also took place in the William Esner Loeb's benefit that is going on right now. So, oh my goodness. Literally had to tear that one open. Stop using packing tape, Tony. Serious Creatures, new issue. Yeah, you knew I had to show it off. Tony stuck me on the mailing list. I cannot thank him enough, man. These books are just absolutely insane. If you haven't heard me go crazy about Tony McMillan yet, you probably haven't been watching the channel in a while. But Tony's work is absolutely stellar. It's somewhere in between like Ashley Wood, Jim Mahfood, and somebody like Al Williams or Al Williamson, or like something like that. Like just gorgeous cartooning, and then deadly serious spot shades, and it's great. This series is an autobiographical piece told through the lens of Rob Bottin, which is a special effects wizard. As you can see here, we're working on the classic movie Legend, and Tim Curry, a little bit of James Bond. There's some great imagery in these books every freaking time. Thriller. Gotta love Thriller. That's the cover to this one. But yeah, Rob Bottin really rose to prominence. He did a lot of stuff and he disappeared. So what's interesting is, Tarman. God, great piece. Tony has used Rob's life as kind of a way to tell his own tale, which is very interesting. Big fan of Tony's work. A lot of it has to do with what I refer to as masks. And this is kind of dealing with that quite literally, taking it into a new place. If you want to learn more about Tony's work, I did an Indie Spotlight episode with him, and I also did a really wonderful interview with Tony on my Instagram. So if you're interested in learning more about Tony's work, I highly recommend going back and checking out the Indie Spotlight episode that I did on his work just prior to this, and also checking out the interview in which we get into much of the symbolism and that kind of thing from his work. Now, I also wanted to show off, he's got a new ad that he's promoting, and man, I am just always a massive fan of Buck. He is a great freaking artist, and it's a wonderful Attaboy piece. If you don't know what Attaboy is, like I said, go back and check out my Indie Spotlight episode on Tony McMillan to get the skinny. Now, this is one I don't know if a lot of people are going to be talking about or will ever actually talk about. The Voices of Water. What I'm going to tell you guys is that anything that you see that is written by Tiziano Sclavi, please, for the love of God, buy it. Buy it and send it to me so I can read it, because Tiziano Sclavi is on my top 3 comic book writers of all time. Top 3, guys. Tiziano Sclavi wrote Dylan Dog. Unfortunately, Dylan Dog is non-translatable to the US because of some copyright issues with one of the characters. I have found a guy who said he'll translate it and print it for me. So if you want to see a Dylan Dog special, I'm going to have to run like a GoFundMe and get some funding to get those books printed. But I did find a guy. Now, Tiziano Sclavi does not have a ton of stuff that comes out here in the US. Unfortunately, just because of who he works with. This book is got some of the most insanely gorgeous work that I've seen in a comic book outside of like Monster in a long time. This is by the same guy that, I was going to say, I'm sure they have it on the cover. Deladria, I think is how, Deledria, I think maybe. Deledria, is how you say his name. But this art, holy God. The layout for this is also very interesting. I'm not sure how this was originally published or if this was intended to be this way for the like graphic novel. You can see there's a lot of like white pages and frontispieces and that kind of stuff. Like really nice breaks and stuff. The Tiziano Sclavi is the guy who also wrote the story. He's the guy who wrote the story that Cemetery Man is based on with Rupert Everett. So if you're a fan of that movie, like I highly recommend reading this book. Tiziano Sclavi sometimes gets censored, I feel like they just don't let him go like all out, balls out here in the US. But definitely this did. As always, I know it might be a little bit annoying, but you could just like Google the name of this and read the elevator pitch. That's not what these issues or that's not what these episodes are about. These episodes are about getting to know the material a little bit more and the creators maybe. And Tiziano Sclavi is one of those guys that I think if you go, this book is so ridiculously cheap, man. I don't even remember if this lists for $20. It's $17. Self-contained. Dude, a man starts hearing voices and he's not sure if he's crazy or if it's the rest of the world that's broken. And they grow and grow and grow and grow to an exponential point to where there is going to have to be an argument made one way or the other whether he's insane or not. This book, holy crap, guys, $17. You can get this, like off of, if you have to, through Amazon or whatever for 20% off of that. Like, geez, you'll get it for, use your Amazon Prime shipping. You're going to be paying like $12 for that. I swear. Oh, you're going to be so happy. Speaking of so happy, I want to thank, major thank you. Actually, we're going to hold off on that for 2 seconds. We're going to hold off on that for literally 5 minutes and talk about Epicenter. So Epicenter are the guys here in the US where you are going to find most of, at least that I know of, Tiziano Sclavi's work. As I said, they did Dylan Dog. Now there are problems with characters from Dylan Dog. I think this even has the problematic, yes. Yeah, see, that's it. He's Marx. That's just who he is. But here in the US, they take away some certain stuff and they change his name and they get away with printing some of the stuff. I was hoping that Epicenter would do more Dylan Dog material. Unfortunately, they've only done the three trades. This isn't by Tiziano Sclavi, actually. I don't believe. Yeah. Claudio, yeah. was going to say, Claudio is also very good. Don't get me wrong. Great story. Chess of Death is really amazing. I asked Epicenter to send me some stuff along to check out, telling them I was a huge Tiziano Sclavi fan. And ironically, they sent along Chess of Death, which is an amazing Dylan Dog story, but one not by Tiziano Sclavi. They sent along Zagor, which is like a really long-running Italian superhero by Nolita, not by Tiziano Sclavi. I haven't had a chance to check this out. If you can't tell, this thing is freaking massive. Not a super huge fan of the way they did the reduction with these weird, huge gutters. I don't know why they chose such a very strange size for it, but Epicenter is definitely, if you're into Italian comic books, okay, Epicenter is the way to go. They just came out with they came out with a text collection not too long ago, definitely, that you should check out if you're a fan of Italian stuff. And again, Mr. No, I haven't had a chance to check out quite yet, because as you can see, this thing is slightly bestial. A lot of really cool ancillary material. Nice quality printing. But again, not a fan of these page reductions. There's not a fan of these page reductions. I don't know if they don't think about that stuff like they do here in the US over in Europe or what. It makes me think that probably like Mr. No and Zagor, they know like, well, we should probably try to present those in the most proper way that we can while making them cheap, because US citizens don't know who they are like they know Dylan Dog. Dylan Dog, this is larger. You can see this is all it takes to get rid of those nasty borders. Because I believe, now I don't have any of them, but I believe these were originally printed at more like magazine size, which is why you have the squarer pages. But they definitely don't drive me nuts in this like they do in the other stuff. Now, unfortunately, the Dylan Dog stuff from Epicenter is starting to go out of print because no one's buying it. Because I don't know why. Please, for the love of God, if you like good comics, and like if you like good European comics, especially like some really heady stuff, like stuff that you are not going to get into in any other book ever. I mean, like explorations of death and character and just some of the most amazing stuff that you're ever going to see. Do me a favor, check out Dylan Dog. Check out Epicenter's catalog of stuff. Anything that you see, anything, I can tell you, anything that you see that is by Tiziano Sclavi, it's going to be freaking gold. Oh my God, it is good. Tiziano Sclavi is just one of those guys, unparalleled, in my opinion. So, now, the reason I wanted to wait is because those books kind of go together. But the other book that I got is going to lead into a series that I'm going to do. I don't think it'll be quite as big as Jack Kirby, unfortunately. But Mary Severin, The Mirthful Mistress of Comics. Now, this was a book by Tomorrow's. If you don't know who Tomorrow's Publishing is, dude, I don't know what you're doing with your life and watching this channel. For real, Tomorrow's is like one of the greatest places to pick up historical comic book content. Oh, it's so great. This had gone out of print. I wanted to pick it up for a long time, but it went out of print. And actually a viewer, Roland Katsuragi, who's a good buddy of mine, like reached out and found the only decent copy on eBay or Amazon for a good price and sent it in so I could check it out. Now, this is like just a history of her work. If you don't know who Mary Severin is, you should check out, get on Facebook and check out the Mary Severin Appreciation Group. She did so much work for comics, you have no freaking idea. This is interviews with people that she worked with. I believe it has interviews with her as well. Oh yeah, there we go. They get into like basically every facet and era of her career. If you don't know who Mary Severin is, again, like this chick worked on everything from like You know, we're talking about the EC, like the Haunted Fear stuff. She was like pre all of that in cartooning. She did some strips. She would go on to work for both Marvel and DC, most notably Marvel in a very major capacity. If you're familiar with the King Size Hulk by Jim Steranko cover, that annual that's so famous, she's the one who most likely drew the actual face that you see on there. Um, there's just she's a great cartoonist. She did a lot of layouts. She did a lot of work. But unfortunately, because of the glass ceiling, there just really wasn't. She just never got the love and the respect that she should have. She was very beloved inside of the industry, but a lot of the people that I know that are even knowledgeable about comic books just don't know the innumerable contributions that Mary made to the industry. I think probably my favorite thing, and I don't know if any of them are even going to be in here because I think James found them from a donor, like a digital donor. He didn't send in the originals, but they're layouts from like the early 70s that Severin did for covers. And it's some of the most iconic and amazing of the Marvel covers that you'll ever see. It's all Mary Severin. But this gets into all of her work. I mean, as you can see, it's quite comprehensive. Tons of interviews with people. There's, oh, cool. Yes, here are some prelims. So like a lot of the covers that I'd seen over the years that really shone, okay, I'm not going to lie. Like this is Brightson's first ever freaking Marvel work, right? A lot of the covers that Severin did, dude, the layouts are what made them gold. They're what made them gold. And she had a way of working with a page, a knowledge that is very nearly unparalleled. She worked for decades and decades tirelessly in the industry. As I said, there's going to be a series about Mary Severin. Like Mary Severin is someone that I've always loved, but I've fallen more and more and more and more in love with, especially over the last 5 years, researching the Bernard Krigstein piece and a few other things. I don't even know how to explain what I think the comic book industry would be without Mary Severin, because it would be it would have been a much, much lesser place. I wish she was still around and I could talk to her, but Mary has unfortunately obviously passed away. She worked on EC Comics, guys, so she lived a long, happy life. But yes, Mirthful Mistress of Comics, absolutely insane book. Thank you so much to Roland Katsaragi for sending that in. Can't thank you enough. Now, we're going to take a quick look at this stuff because it is going to comprise a indie spotlight all of its own. Now, Chris Misimo. I don't even know where to start with Misimo. Just an insanely talented guy. Works mostly in caricatures, is what I believe he makes his living doing. But his books, oh my God. They're freaking gorgeous to look at. The way that he translates cartooning and characterisms into, or characteristics. That's what I'm going to go with. I am copywriting that word right now. Characteristics. But Chris does an amazing job of really being able to do a ton of different styles while also telling like super engaging. These remind me a lot of like John and the Homicidal Maniac. The layouts and the art and stuff, not the story. It's not nearly as crazy, weird, dark or anything, but it reminds me a lot of John and the Homicidal Maniac in all the best possible ways. Another guy that I can see a ton of in Chris's work, usually like in the hair and that kind of stuff, Scotty Young. This reminds me of like that transitional period between Scotty Young and Chibi Young, as I call him now, because he does all the chibi stuff that I just can't stand. Chris caught him like right at the right moment. Another guy that I see a lot of in here, which is super cool, and it's really evident on this page, is why I'm kind of lingering. Tell me that's not Megaton Man. You know, Don Simpson. Like, yeah, totally Don Simpson type work. But this is like, I see a lot of Scotty Young. I see a lot of like Yonan Vasquez. I see a lot of that kind of stuff. And he can, man, there's some great freaking pinups in here. Guys like, I mean, look at that. Great freaking cover. I thought the reproduction was so much better on the front. I wanted to show off that Young piece. Yeah. So, great freaking pinup collection for this, because he's got some really interesting buddies that do stuff. Like, he's not just hiring like, oh yeah, this guy would look really cool in 1995 Image to do my stuff. Like, he's doing like, I mean, this beautiful airbrush stuff, this very traditional character work. So he's bringing in like a new crew, like guys I don't normally hear about. Screwy 2020, we're going to get into this one way more in the Indie Spotlight episode, so I don't want to like just sit here and flip through it for 20 minutes. But what this is like Chris decided to get more into doing art again, like as an actual thing. And he wanted to do like a page a day, and this is what he did. It's kind of like his journal. And this thing is like a peek into the mind of madness. It's awesome. It's kind of figuring him out. I mean, come on. Yeah, he might have done a couple of amazing Max pieces for me for the William Messner Mobes benefit that I can't wait to show off. But this book is just absolutely insane. I really highly recommend. This isn't necessarily so much as like a narrative comic book as it is if you're interested in Misimo's work after you're done checking out his other stuff. I really recommend checking out Screwy 2020 just to get like an idea of the headspace that he was going into. Narbonne the Destroyer was the first thing that I ever saw from him, is inside of an issue of Wizard, the magazine. And Narbonne is like his play at the traditional 90s stuff, but teamed with his own style. It's the first thing that I saw. It's really insane to see his pen work. The variety of styles and like different qualities of work. And I don't mean quality as in like good or bad. I mean qualities of his work are really, really interesting to look at in Chris Misimo's work, which is what's going to make our Indie Spotlight on him really fun to do. Because you can see this is him politely poking fun at, but also paying true actual homage to those 90s Image books. But also, again, as I think, you know, this, again, looking at this right here, that's Don Simpson. I see a lot of Don Simpson. I haven't had a chance to talk to Chris about his influences. I never ask these guys, you know, who are the guys you look at? I just know the stuff that I see when I look at this. So forgive me, please, Chris, if I'm talking out my yin yang. Now, this book, tell me this doesn't look diametrically opposed to Narbonne the Destroyer, but in all the best freaking possible ways. This book is flippin' fantastic. Again, this is poking fun of, but very politely. This is the Outlaw style, though. I mean, this looks just like the Outlaw books that I read. Like, this is Tim Vigil all freaking day. Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's great. And you can, in the beginning here, I think that's some like nice Ashley Wood, Daniel Warren Johnson influences. Knucklehead Comics. He sent me a good collection of Knucklehead. I just want to, let's start off here with an earlier issue. So, Knucklehead, I'm just going to flip through an issue and we're going to talk just a little bit more about Chris. Because like I said, he does get his own Indie Spotlight. This is some great stuff. I wanted to show off too, the adult coloring book. but every single page on this is covered in absolutely wonderful obscenities. So yeah, I can't really show it off too much on the channel. I'll probably try to sneak it somewhere in the middle of like the 30 or 40 minute Chris Missimo that we do special that we do for the Indie Spotlight. The cool thing is he plays with different sizes and printing techniques, different page stocks, that kind of stuff. I think it depends on what he's trying to do, probably what's available, and how he's creating the material that's going into it. Something I'm very interested to talk to Chris about. Knucklehead Comics started off. This is my favorite style of comic book ever. It's oversized, still stapled, kind of floppy. It's not square bound, still stapled. They remind me of the old fanzines and like the pro fanzines, you know, like Charlton Bullseye, that kind of stuff that I grew up on. Really love this stuff. And the tales in here, look at that. I mean, this isn't to say that like caricature artists can't draw. You have to really, really, really be able to draw well to do characters. But man, being able to pull that back into a beautifully cartoon face like this, especially with all the gorgeous details in the hair and the face, there's something about Chris Missimo's work that is infinitely interesting. And I think it also shows the absolutely wonderful breadth of different styles, and his narrative storytelling is really nice. This guy's read a lot of comic books. It shows, and in all the best ways. You know what I mean? He's not like wandering around in the dark. I also always love his pinup stuff, because obviously he's a character artist, so he's going to work very well in pinup style. Let's take a look at one more Chris Missimo book, and then we'll move on right now. This is Knucklehead from, I think 2020. I think they just said it, didn't they? Probably just missed it. Yeah. So this is from like about 2 years ago. So this is the square bound version. Not as big a fan. Don't like the paper stock nearly as much. The blacks are desaturated on this paper. Don't like the square bound as much. But Chris Missimo is really just so cool, man. Sorry, Turbohawk is just great. So yeah, if you are on the fence about checking out anything that Chris Missimo does, or even picking up a piece of artwork from Chris Missimo, as I did get a couple of pieces for the William Messner Loeb's benefit, I'm going to tell you guys, a pleasure to work with, very professional. He's extremely talented, and I do highly recommend that you not only check out his stuff, but that you support Chris as a creator, that you support Chris as a creator and a guy, because he's just a really nice guy, very dedicated to his craft. And after you read Screwy 2020, which is awesome, you can check this out, $10. $10. Okay? This is going to give you a look inside of Chris Missimo's head. And I wanted to stop here, obviously, Missimo.com. If you guys are interested in picking up his stuff, please do it. As I said, Indie Spotlight coming on Chris Missimo friggin' ASAP. Now, here's a guy I've been trying to get onto the channel for a little while. This is by Ink and Drink, and they did this Kickstarter for this book, Endangered African Hornman and Juggy. If you can't tell, non-copyright infringing character versions of Juggernaut and the Rhino. Now, book came with some absolutely killer freaking stickers. I've been trying to get Erwin Papa on the channel for a little while. I really want to get more of Erwin's work, and hopefully Erwin is doing a piece for the Max benefit, because Erwin Papa is one of my favorite artists that I've come across in a while. I keep looking for a really good excuse to show him off on the channel, and just haven't gotten it yet. So I was really excited when he passed this book along. If you're interested, I believe that this was kickstarted, so you'll probably have to get a hold of somebody that was involved in the book. But if you check out this freaking listing, it's like, I mean, you got Erwin Papa, you got Sobakore, like big fan. You've got Kevin Anthony Cotillion, like so much, like Kevin Looney, really good, and Rafael Flores, just some really crazy stuff. This is a jam book, so every few pages are. So Corey just killed that page. But every few pages or page are done by different people. They tell somewhat different stories. And woof, this book is just gorgeous. There's everything ranging from like very traditional to like outlaw stuff. That Sobakore, like that pinup is just berserk in my opinion. That single page, like beat 'em up. I wish we'd have gotten like 2 or 3 pages, but yeah, they've taken out a sentinel here. Like just some really, really cool stuff. This book, like I said, I'm not entirely sure if you can still order it like just off of a web store or anything like that. I need to look into that. I got to ask Erwin. Probably should have asked him before I aired this episode. Sorry. But if you can, I'll have a link to it down in the description. Otherwise, just check out one of the creators and hit them up and ask them if they know where to get one. This one's really neat. Super, I mean, red line should be hard to read, but it's really cool. And it ties into the story, the Crimson Chaos. Got some really cool, like, underground stuff. Gorgeous pinup page right here. Really, really like that Jason logo. Or Jason, I said logo. Jason Lego page. Very interesting stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Yeah, man. I mean, there's just some great stuff inside of this. It's Ink and Drink is like a collaborative of guys that get together and they draw. Here's some Erwin Papa stuff. This is why I want to get more of Erwin's stuff on the channel. This dude is just berserk. I love his goddamn work. And super nice guy. Oh, yeah. Tell me that's not a gorgeous pinup, man. I love it. It's so great, though. But yeah, the Ink and Drink Collective, I also know that Ink and Drink has like a Discord channel, and they just started taking votes on which book that they're going to be redrawing next. And as far as I know, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be X-Men #1 by Jim Lee. Not going to want to miss out on it. Some of the people involved with this Ink and Drink are absolutely incredible. I also wanted to point out, I get a lot of freaking books on this channel. I read a lot of stuff. This book was printed absolutely perfectly. Has a freaking wonderful little tassel bookmark. The paper stock in here is glossy, but it's nice, solid stock. It doesn't have any problems with reproducing any of the digital stuff that's in here. And man, this is professional quality hardcover stuff right here. No binding defects. When I was flipping through this book on like 90% of the Marvel books that I get, oh, listen how quiet that is. All you can hear is the pages. No groan. I don't know. A Blaze is pretty small, so maybe they're... listen. Yeah. Cracky. Listen to that. Crack. Every page. Every stinking page. Professional big company. Bullshit books. Creators who give a shit about their books. Amazing stuff. Seriously wanted to thank Erwin for sending that in. I'm hoping I can get some more stuff from Erwin and really get a nice like indie spotlight just about Erwin Papa up. Spectral Void. Now, Spectral Void, this one was pretty cool. I've been doing a lot of art on my Twitch channel. And this dude was just somebody I randomly ran into. wanted to throw this up here on the channel, talk about it a little bit. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so we're going to take a look at this in a future episode because it just showed up. But the art is really, really cool. And it was originally serialized, I know, as a collection of like floppies. And then he went to this collection, which came out not too long ago. And he was kind enough to pass on along to me. But I wanted to throw Spectral Void up on the screen, just talk a little bit about it, because it came in this week. As I said, I haven't had a chance to read it, so we'll be taking a better look at that. Fantagraphics was nice enough. Well, Ho-Che Anderson via Fantagraphics, as I don't think Fantagraphics gives the toss about my tiny little channel here. But they were kind enough to pass along a copy of Godhead 2. If you've not read Godhead, I don't know where to start. It's probably Ho-Che's like opus. Like, this is going to be the thing. I think that beyond King, probably Godhead is what, you know, Ho-Che is going to be remembered for. It's about a way they find a machine that can communicate with God. Like, you can ask him questions. And shit goes very awry from there. I don't really want to get too much into the story. As always, don't like, you know, elevator pitches. What I will say is that I need to get a copy of Godhead 1. I unfortunately found out that I lost it when my roof collapsed in this last move, like so many of my other trades and stuff, but I don't have Godhead 1, but I do want to have Ho-Che back on the channel. And what I'd love to do is have him do a commentary with me over the top of Godhead 1 and Godhead 2. If that sounds like something you guys would be interested in, get in the comment section below. Let me know. I'm toying with new ideas, new concepts, that kind of thing. And man, Godhead was an amazing book. Godhead 2 takes things to an absolutely so gorgeous. Just an amazing place. And what's really cool is, like, you can tell he's learning and evolving and pushing. The art in this is next level. The coloring is extraordinary in the sections where there is, but it works very well in gray and black and white. Again, I'm very interested to get Ho-Che back on the channel, talk with him a little bit about the creation of this book, and maybe have him help me do like a little commentary. Like Cartoonist Kayfabe has been doing, you know, that kind of thing with, like, they'd have Eastman and Laird on to look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or that kind of thing. And now that I'm running around with guys, I thought, hey, it'd be really nice if Ho-Che Anderson could pop on and explain what's going on with Godhead 1 and 2. I just got to get a copy of Godhead 1, and then I'm going to pester him about that. Now, sorry, I got to start doing this pre-channel or pre-episode, but I don't even know if this is how well this is going to fit on the screen because this thing is so big. So Richie Yela, I think is how you say his name, sent in copy of his new book, Roach Balls. This book is crazy. It doesn't just look crazy on the cover either. It is nuts from front to start. It's an oversized magazine format, and all done, as you can see, by Rich. Really great book. Super fun, super freaking bizarre. But the art in here is not like anything else that I've seen in a really long time. This reminds me of like outlaw kind of books, but if they were colored. Like, none of those books were ever colored. This book is like super crazily colored. You can tell it's all done by hand. Everything in here is done by hand. This is like created by human hands. And I know Roach Balls is his first big like push to get a book out there. I think it's pretty impressive what he was able to accomplish as far as like and there's not like a ton of dialogue and stuff that tells you what the hell is going on. There is, like, towards the end of the book, there's more, but a lot of it's like just narrative storytelling, which is kind of ballsy, really cool stuff. Big fan. Yeah, if you get a chance, check out Roach Balls. I know it's at a bunch of local LCSs, but if you're interested in picking up a copy, I definitely would recommend getting a hold of Rich and picking up one while they're still around. I don't know. These books were probably had to be expensive to print because they're oversized magazine. They're full color. The like paper stock and everything's really, really, really nice. So I would highly recommend, like, if you're interested in picking one up. I don't even know what they list for, actually. But hit up Rich, and I guarantee you he will get you hooked up with something, man. Now, okay, so for this one, I unfortunately can't show off a whole ton of the interiors. I'm going to have to start doing, like, Patreon exclusive mailbags where I can show off the more explicit ones of these. This is called Tales from Rock and Roll. It's truer Tales from the Rock and Roll. This is the story of G.G. Allin. It's not like an autobiographical tale or a biography so much as like the story that he deserves. What it really reminds me of is like Tales from the Tour Bus, the newer Mike Judge show that's now off the air that I think everybody should have watched, and I'm absolutely heartbroken is over. But yeah, this tells the story of like G.G. Allin, man. And like G.G. Allin was like this huge polarizing figure in rock and roll and punk and like soundcore and a bunch of other stuff. If you don't know who G.G. Allin is, like, I highly recommend not Googling G.G. Allin because you'll probably like scar your freaking psyche and stuff. But this book is absolutely crazy. It's off the wall. As a guy who was like around when G.G. Allin was doing a bunch of this crap, like, dude, let me tell you, a lot of this sounds like made up or like crazy or anything like that. This is like really what was going on with like G.G. Allin. And this is truly like the forward to this basically says like, I didn't really want to do the G.G. Allin book of like my experience and stuff. I didn't want to do the G.G. Allin book of like my experience. I wanted to do the G.G. Allin book of like, this is the book that G.G. Allin deserves. And this is the book that G.G. Allin deserves. It's like crazy. It tells the story of his life, like basically like the lead up to his death. Some of the more like insane shenanigans, I guess you would call them, that he pulled at through, at shows over the years, that kind of thing. A little bit of his like rise to like, I don't know if you would call it prominence, but like infamy, I guess. Like, G.G. Allin was a big thing for a lot of people, man. G.G. Allin was a big thing for me. You can see there's a lot of pages I have to skip. A lot of dong, a lot of nudity, a lot of really, really crazy stuff. But that was G.G. Allin, man. And really, funnily enough, it ends, with all of these, his grave and like all of the stuff that people would put up, like effigies and that kind of stuff, But what's cool is the very last story they tell is about his, it's called a Spanish Thanksgiving. He just shows up, hang out with a buddy of his, Ben Burt. Yeah, Spanish Thanksgiving. And like, he just shows up, he's going to hang out with his buddy, Ben Burt. They all want to get like fucked up, and like Ben Burt pulls out this stuff. He thinks it's chocolate and he tries to eat it, and Ben Burt flips out. Turns out that he's like, oh, it tastes awful. And he's like, that's hash, man. They smoke it. And that's truer tales from the rock and roll. I wish I could show off more of this, but even flipping through it, I get kind of chintzy. There's so much nudity, so many swastikas. Also, and I believe that the two people who made it, I should mention this, Michael Board and King Sploit. And unfortunately, I'm an idiot. I lost my package, so I don't know who sent this in. I can't read this signature. So thank you so much. Cool is there's another one called Elvis Chicken. It's about another really weird band. And I was not familiar with Elvis Chicken, actually. So I checked this out. Really, really fun book. It's another like semi-biographical tale of this really bizarre rock and roll band done in some very outlaw styles. Okay, so that's the flip side of this is called Soul. Soul Man, and it's a book that they made when they were little kids with their like uncle on these big boards. I wish we got to see. This actually takes up more than half of the publication, and I wish we, I think a lot of people are going to be like, why are we seeing that? I wish we saw more stuff like this. It's really nice to get a glimpse into like where people are coming from and where they've gone with their stuff. Very cool books. I can't thank you enough for sending them in. I'm sorry I can't show off more of those on the channel. Now, we're getting down to it, guys. I promise. Getting down to it. So, Steve Lafler, we talked about on the channel not too long ago. I talked about Lucha Bruja, and Scalawag. Now, I talked quite a bit about Ben's style and like just kind of checked his stuff out. And Ben was kind enough to send in some books. He sent in 1956, The Movie Star, as well as Sweet Sweet Little Ramona, and then a new issue of Bug House, which is called From the Top, and Catsuit, Comic Stories by Steve Lafler. Of all of them, Catsuit is the one that definitely like I gravitated towards because it deals more with what my wheelhouse of like, costume superheroes and that kind of stuff. But again, looking at this stuff, this does remind me quite a bit of the work from Bug House specifically, but there's stuff in the black and white work that I think is very specific to this book. And Steve is one of those guys who I think tailors his artwork and his storytelling to whatever he's trying to do at that given moment. And it's not always the same. Like you see, I wouldn't call this a parody. It's like a Dan Clowes version of, that's one of the highest compliments I would pay. This reminds me a lot of like Dan Clowes. So, this is like what Dan Clowes would do if he was doing like a costume superhero, is what this reminded me of a lot. Super cool book. But if you check this out and then we look at the art from 1956, it's similar, but very different. The faces are constructed in a different way. I think the pages are also laid out very specifically to evoke like this older 1950s. They're much more drowned with dialogue, that kind of stuff, than a lot of his other pages. And 1956 is the same way. It's printed later, so you can see this is not on newsprint. It's white, but you can still see the same facial construction and that kind of stuff. That's really solid with 1956, but slightly different than his take for Catsuit, which is very interesting because they both take place around the same period, or evoke the spirit of that same period, I should say. I don't think they ever necessarily say, hey, this is like 1936, this is 1954, very interesting stuff. Bug House, this one seems to be like, Bug House I think is his swan, his like opus. And this one does kind of run the gambit, but you can tell there's a very different page layout that's going on in this book than there is in the last ones that we've looked at. There's a lot of dialogue again, but the page layouts are different. Pen work, 100%, absolutely. Look at how dark a lot of these figures is. These figures is. A lot of these figures are. You do not see anything like that in these books. Like everybody's face is very clearly defined, very little shading. I really like Lafler's ability to kind of evolve to whatever situation he's involving himself in. I wish Bug House, I've got not great eyes at this point, and I wish Bug House was printed slightly larger, but the reproduction on this is really nice. It'd be nice to see it at even like a magazine size format, because I think a lot of the To be very honest, I think a lot of the line work that's going on in this is very influenced by guys like Crumb, and I would be interested to see that at a much larger scale. What's cool though is that Scalawag, which was sent in, is book 3 of Bug House. And I hadn't really checked it out because it was just a rando book. You know, it's volume 3. But this is the complete Bug House. And again, taking place around that jazz period. But look at how different this art is. There's a page. Oh, yeah. See, this is the kind of stuff that reminds me a lot of like Crumb. It's very, very alive. You can see there's a ton of play in these pages. Whereas with the 1956 series, it feels very more like constrained and film influenced. Like everything is a shot from a movie, that kind of thing. God, there's just some amazing pen work. I could look at this all day. Again, I don't really like to do elevator pitches. If you're interested in finding out what Bug House is about and this looks like something you'd be interested in, just Google it. You can read a much better elevator pitch than I would ever be able to give you. But I do highly recommend. I mean, this book is like 300 and... Oh, no, it's 404 pages. I thought it was 350, but it's 400 pages. It's like $34 list. I think I saw this thing for about $28 on Amazon. If it's at all interesting, good God, pick it up. Now, we got a treat for our last thing. I need to talk to Matt and make sure that he doesn't have a book out, because we're either going to do an indie spotlight just on this. I'm hoping he has a book out. I'm also going to kill my postal carrier because they bent this and shoved it into my damn mailbox. Discussions that we're going to have to talk. You know, we're going to have a talk. Matt Luznowinski, I think is how you say his name. Think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, dude, do I apologize? So, Matt's work is very much like, I would put Matt in the same caliber, like tier of character guys like Michelle Fife, Matthew Allison, James Herron. These are guys that are under wonderful axe wielder John pinup. And these are guys that are definitely in the underground. They are dealing with looks and art styles that are not like the Marvel DC house style, but they've perfected it to such... I mean, his use of cross-hatching and stippling is some of the most amazing stuff I've ever seen. This is a collection of commissions that he did over the last 2 years. Unfortunately, this is volume 2. I don't have volume 1. God knows I wish I did. He's got, it's not in here, but he's got, I think, one of the top 5 Daredevil images that I've ever seen. I just love Matt's stuff. You can see what I'm talking about. He is very influenced by a lot of different stuff. And there's I don't want to say a childlike quality to his line art, but there's a youthful energy is what I would call it. It's more about trapping the initial idea and that vision that you have for a character onto a page, and then he just goes in and hyper renders the hell out of it. He's got a YouTube channel, and if you're interested in any of his techniques or anything like that, he's super wonderful. He's an amazingly kind guy to speak with, and he's more than happy to break that stuff down and really show off, how he's doing, what he's doing, how he's doing it. And I do highly recommend checking out his YouTube channel. So this gets into some of the stuff that I love most about him. He's got this break in the leg and it turns into a cityscape, and that's the Daredevil that he did utilizes elements like that. I keep dreaming that one day I'll be able to afford a commission from Matt. I'm probably gonna have to bother him about it and see if he does payment plans, because his stuff is absolutely exquisite. And I would flip to see an Uncle Jerk piece from this guy. I mean, whew, like his Death's Head, like some of this stuff is just absolutely incredible. He created this stuff between like I think like 2019 and 2021, maybe 22. I think there might be some stuff here from 22, like that Axe Wielder John, I think might be from 22, because I think that was not 2 years ago that I spoke with. I swear it was in here. Oh, nope, 21. I'm wrong. Must have been one of the first guys that he asked. Anyway, so yeah, this is a collection of his images, or a collection of his commissions that he did. Most of these are just characters. The stuff where he really shines is when he gets to do his cityscapes. Just even partial backgrounds with Matt, I think make him really push himself with the images. Sometimes when you see these like single character images, you can tell he's just trying so hard to make them interesting, but I feel like he wants to draw backgrounds on a lot of this stuff. I mean, God, it's such a great... Look at that axe. I mean, that's Jeff Darrow all day. You know what I mean? I can see a lot of like... I feel like there's like some like Bill Sienkiewicz in the line work. Maybe some like... It's so hard to pin down his exact details. He reminds me a lot of like Michel Fife, and also a lot of Dan Frega, actually. I don't know why I see so much Dan Frega in his work, but I really just do. I love the R. Crumb IG-88. Whoever came up with that is just... You get bonus points for a good commission, guys. That is priceless. That belongs on a t-shirt. Just keep gunning. Something like that. Sorry. Yeah, so... God, look at that Jason. Jack the Radio right now has a piece up where they're doing like a mini comic with Matthew Allison. So they've definitely got really good taste in guys. A good band too. I said mini comic. They're doing like a combo. Anyway, if you want to, you can check out Jack the Radio, Matthew Allison, aka Kankor. They got a cool comic coming out. Wonderful Judge Dredd. Don Simpson's a guy that I see like running like a lifeblood through a lot of these guys. And I do see a lot of like Don Simpson, maybe some like Harvey Kurtzman, that kind of stuff going on like at the very base of this. But like, dude, that Katsuhiro Otomo would be proud. Simon Bisley would love that. He's able to channel, he like invokes the spirit of like whatever character he's trying to mess with. It feels like there are certain images when I don't know if he's told to go nuts or he just really falls in love with them, where you can tell this is very much like Matt Luzwinski in his like his preferred form, like this Magneto, and there's a Colossus in here that I just think is, man, I love that piece. The Colossus that's in here, yeah. And this is the kind of stuff where, you know, using these strange Ditko-esque shapes and that kind of geometry, I think is like his preferred method. Like you can see the cityscape and everything is mostly made up of like these very interesting shapes. And I think that's his like basically preferred way to render and draw. I absolutely love it. This martial law piece is friggin' amazing. Nobody ever does martial law right. That is a monster of a costume to get right, in my opinion. That Mr. Miracle is super duper cool. Great MODOK. But this is a collection, like I said, of his commission work. He's like 12 pages out from being done on an actual book right now. And if we don't do an indie spotlight, oh God, look at that. Shredder. That's Demon Shredder, obviously. But man, oh, wow. So, yeah, if we don't do an indie spotlight where we just kind of sit down and flip through this and talk about this book right here, we will be doing one about about his new book when it drops. I think what I want to do is kind of flip through and talk about some of these commissions and how he did stuff and why he did stuff and what people were asking for. And talk about some stuff like this Spawn. Because anybody who knows me knows I'm not even a massive Spawn fan. And that's a great image. Like, I would have that on a t-shirt. I mean, that's a great freaking piece. I love him hiding in the corner. That's totally Ditko. You know, that's totally Steve Ditko. So, some wonderful stuff that's going on inside of here. His Swamp Things are always jaw-dropping. I think he was just kind of born to draw Swamp Thing, even more than Man Thing. Some more great Akira, Tetsuo, man. Good goon. Good solid goon. I'd love to see him do some more stuff with the Turtles. I really, really enjoy his Turtles. I've seen one or two of his other pieces, I think, where he's done some really great Turtle stuff. Usagi Yojimbo, man. Everybody's been killing Usagi. I'm going to have to do a good Usagi piece. But, yeah. This is Matt Luzwinski, and great Wolverine. This is one of my favorite pieces as well. I love the fade into the negative space. Not afraid to use negative space. That takes cojones. I really respect it. I really love it. I cannot thank Matt enough for sending this into the channel. Like I said, he is about 12 pages out from finishing his next book. So we will definitely be talking to Matt. If it's not about this, which hopefully I can get him to talk about this, get him on to talk about this, and then get him on to talk about his new book when it's on, then we will be talking to him specifically about his new book. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this kind of shows off the difference in stuff that I'm into, that I want to show off on the channel. Does not need to be locked into anything. Doesn't even need to be a comic book. Like, I love this art book. This is great. I would love to show more stuff like this off. I'd love to turn more people on to new creators and stuff. There are some great commission collections, art books, mini zines, that kind of stuff. Do not ever hesitate or be afraid to send them in, because I won't check them out or show them off, because I will. Definitely, I love looking at them. I'm an art maniac, and I love pulling stuff apart. I also love talking to people. So, who knows, might pull you onto the channel like Matt and just, shred your ear about, like, hey, what were we going for in this piece? Where are these lines coming from? Why these characters? Who are you drawing from? Like, this is some great, 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 great stuff. And I cannot wait to talk to Matt. Also try to guilt him into some sort of commission for me, because good God, man, I need some of this on my wall before his stuff gets absolutely out of my price range, which it already is. So I'm sure. But that's why they make payment plans, right? And credit cards. But yeah, check out more of Matt's stuff. Amazing, amazing creator. Thank you to everybody who sent stuff in. There will be an indie spotlight coming up that is going to cover nothing but Cosmic Lions Productions. We have got some amazing stuff to look at for Cosmic Lions. We've already looked at a few of those, but I'm trying to find Tales from the Wolf. We're going to be checking those out in a indie spotlight episode all on their own. And I'm going to have Eli back on the channel, and we're going to do a chat, hang out, learn all about the plans for the upcoming Cosmic Lion Productions stuff. And guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I think that's it for today. Remember, if you would like these videos, hit that like button. Think about getting in the comment section below and letting me know. If you feel like you're in a position to help the channel grow, think about using the links in the description below to sign up for my Patreon page, sign up for membership right here on YouTube, or maybe even just tip the channel on Ko-Fi. That stuff really does make these videos possible. I'd like to thank every single one of you who sent in stuff. It means the world to me. If you are interested in getting your piece featured on an episode of the mailbag, just use my about section, look up my email, drop me an email, hit me up through Instagram, Facebook, whatever. We'll hook up. We will get your books featured. I can guarantee that anything sent to me that is safe to show, I will put on the channel. No favorites. Everybody does know that my favorite books do end up getting indie spotlight episodes, and I'm working on moving to live YouTube interviews. So we're going to be expanding that section of the channel. So if you're interested in getting your stuff featured, please just get a hold of me and we'll make sure that happens. Thank you again for helping this crazy dream of mine become a reality and for sticking with me. I hope you all enjoyed, maybe even learned something. And as always, I really, truly, and honestly ask only two things. Keep hitting those local shops and keep reading comics.